Quick introductions to the folks who are on stage with me. Jim Moorish is Director at Makina Research. Glenn Lowry, the President of Emerging Devices at AT&T. Bill Davidson, Senior Vice President, Global Marketing and Investor Relations at Qualcomm. And Frederick Reelstrom, Senior Vice President at Telenor Connection, who's smiling at me because that was the worst Irish attempt at a Scandinavian accent, but we kind of got through it. Can you guys see the screen?
Kinda.
Kinda. You're kind of getting a little bit of a shadow. The good news is on your badges there's a little 2D barcode. If you scan the 2D barcode, it'll take you to a web page where you can get the materials we're using today. So go there if you can't see what we have on the screen. Let me give you a little bit of an idea of what we're here to talk about. I think as a mobile industry, we're at a little bit of an inflection point. We're at about 6 billion connections worldwide. And if you think the world's population is about 6.7 billion, you kind of think, okay, are we at the end of the road here? We definitely don't think that's the case. There have been a number of estimates out in the marketplace as to how many connections we're going to get to and when we're going to get there. And as you can imagine, as an industry body, we get asked that question a lot. What we decided to do was work with a great group of companies. You can see them on the chart here. And do some research into what we thought that market opportunity looked like, both in terms of the number of subscribers, but also in terms of the revenue opportunity that we see in the years ahead. So I think that's kind of the key thing we want to walk through today. I think the overriding point that we want to make to everyone here is this is not a mobile industry solution that we're proposing. This is a solution where the mobile industry must work together with adjacent industries to deliver on this opportunity. Let me just talk a little bit about the size of the opportunity. So these are 2011 numbers. Hopefully you can see this, but it says there are about 9 billion connected devices in 2011. The red portion is the portion you'll probably recognize, 6.5 billion connections, so the mobile piece, the SIM card piece. Then you have a few other pieces on here. The white piece is the fixed line piece. The 1.73 is kind of short range, Wi-Fi, Ethernet type connectivity. The small number is satellite. So that kind of gives you a base for what we're talking about today, about 9 billion connections. If we go forward and look at the research that Makina have conducted working with these companies, we get to 2020, we're looking at about 24.45 billion connections. Again, the red piece is the mobile industry piece, about 12 billion connections. The big one on the left, the 10.7, is that short-range Wi-Fi, Ethernet type connectivity. And then the other two lines kind of grow, sort of, they're small, but they're kind of growing in that space. I think the first message we really want you to take away out of today is that we're going to go from about 6 billion connections today to about 12 billion connections by 2020. That's a significant piece of growth for our industry. Having established the size of the opportunity, we thought, okay, how do we think about the value of that in terms of the revenue opportunity for the industry? So flipping back up to that total connected devices number, the 24.45 billion connected devices, Makina's research indicates that that is a revenue opportunity of about $1.8 trillion in 2020. The red piece is the addressable piece by the mobile industry, so that's the 1.2 trillion. I'm going to steal one of Jim's lines here. He said the way you kind of define what's addressable and what's not is if you buy a connected washing machine, the addressable piece includes the connectivity, but it doesn't include the actual washing machine itself. So that kind of gives you the difference between those two numbers. The 1.2 is the piece that we see as an opportunity for the mobile industry by 2020. If you think of that in the overall scale today, the mobile industry at the moment is just below $1 trillion. So this really is a significant opportunity and where we'll drive the next phase of growth. So that's kind of the second key thing I'd like you guys to take away. That significant 1.2 trillion opportunity. Then just cutting down into sectors a little bit just to give you an idea of where these come from. Again, these are pieces off the 1.8. Consumer electronics, 445 billion. Automotive, 202 billion. Healthcare, 69 billion. Utilities, 36 billion. I think we've all had conversations and we understand the kind of scenarios we're talking about here. In healthcare, it's about remote monitoring. Utilities, it's about smart metering and smart grids. In automotive, it's kind of things like smart destination management that gets us to locations quicker and cuts down those greenhouse emissions. So that's kind of an example of the sectors and the areas that we see this growing. And then last chart, just kind of talk a little bit about how we deliver on this opportunity. It's absolutely key that we unite as a mobile industry with these vertical sectors, using accepted industry standards to deliver on the opportunity. I think mobile operators are uniquely positioned to work in partnership with other industries because the operator community bring a number of unique assets to the table. Obviously, they provide that ubiquitous network connectivity and have strong credentials in roaming and interoperability. The mobile industry is developing the embedded SIM, which will essentially support this marketplace and allow you to change provider without visiting a location, so an over-the-air update on a SIM, but while maintaining the high standards of security that we expect. The mobile industry deliver proven customer care, billing, and distribution. And finally, the mobile industry represent a trusted brand for consumers and businesses. I think those four attributes make it really important for the mobile industry to be a key constituent in developing this connected life. And final point on this chart, we seem to have dropped off the end a little bit there, is last third message out today is we are calling on all participants in this new expanded ecosystem to come together with the mobile industry, and hopefully together we can deliver on this vision. Details of what I've talked about are on the press release. Again, use the little QR code that you have on your lapels. You'll be able to get some white papers, the press release, and kind of some charts that kind of let you see some of this information. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jim and let him add a few comments. You got a microphone? No.
In his other hand.
You need that one.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for that. My name is Jim Morris. I'm a director of Wikina Research. We look at the numbers, so we're responsible for the numbers that are being shown. I just want to go into a little bit of detail about those numbers that we have done, because this wasn't a project that we did. This is actually our business. We're a firm of industry analysts. We established earlier this year, myself and my co-founder Matt Hatton, and we founded this business to focus on machine-to-machine, clearly, and also connected devices and the mobile broadband opportunity. So that's our business. This is what we do. And we've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of players in this industry over the last year, and we've got some extremely comprehensive forecasts, which we think are the best, most comprehensive, and most detailed forecasts of machine-to-machine and connected devices that are available at the moment. And we're publishing today our global forecast for machine-to-machine communications and also mobile broadband communications. Now, let me just take you through a little bit about the approach that we use. Firstly, in forecasting machine-to-machine, it's clear that it's such a disparate environment. Every sector is different, every application is different within every sector, and every sub-application within groups of applications. Everything has to be assessed individually. And what we've actually done to build this database, or to build these forecasts, is we've split the market from connected devices effectively up into 13 sectors. Within those 13 sectors, there are 60 applications, and within those 60 applications, we actually analyse at the level of 189 applications. So each one of those 189 is analysed in detail. We forecast expected take-up per country, spend per country, device costs. We look at traffic that's generated, etc. And basically, we end up with a forecast database of 1 million points is what we make available on a commercial basis. So if you subscribe to our services, that's what you'd see. Sitting behind that is about another 3 million data points. So this really is a very comprehensive forecast, and a lot of work has gone into it. We're very glad to be sharing some of the results with you today. Just some of the conclusions that come out of having done that work. Firstly, is there are some very clear benefits that are worth highlighting of the machine-to-machine market. There's potential to reduce costs for industries. So taking something like smart metering, it reduced meter reading costs. It also enables a more efficient operations. So not having having variable tariffs and not having to bring on power stations that are less efficient than nuclear power stations, for instance, or more polluting, etc. So it enables more efficient, wider operations. It enables new business models such as connected car insurance policies. It improves qualities. So, for example, in healthcare, more monitoring and more accurate monitoring is better results. In terms of vehicle monitoring, there are opportunities for preemptive action if certain types of engine vibrations are found, for instance. So there's a lot of things that machine-to-machine communication can do. There's a lot of benefits there, and benefits to industries related to the telecoms and the mobile industry. It's a very different industry for the mobile industry to get into. I think the mobile industry, typically starting from a consumer base, in a machine-to-machine environment, these endpoints don't complain. If they don't have connectivity, they don't unplug the phone, turn it on, and turn it on again, turn it off and turn it on again. So there's a completely different set of dynamics. Things like SIM activation periods. Devices might just not be used for 6 months. So there's a lot of different issues here that the mobile industry is going to come across, and I'm sure fix and resolve. I'm sure Ben and others will tell you how they're going to do that. It's worth mentioning that there are going to be a lot of new commercial models in terms of paying for connectivity. We've seen examples of the Kindle where it's bundled, or connectivity could be bundled in with the service or paid for up front, or there could be multiple SIMs per account. All these things that will need resolving. One of the other things that's worth highlighting is the partnership approach that will be needed. I think in many of these situations and many of the opportunities that we came across, you might have a company which is a specialist in heating, ventilation, air conditioning, but they're not specialists in mobile communications and connecting devices with cellular networks. Likewise, the cellular operators are not experts in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So it's about partnering to bring out the best in both parties, and I think that's the way that this opportunity is realised. And it should be noted that the value really is in the products and services that are wrapped around the connectivity, and indeed the value that the connectivity can bring to the products and services. So it's a synergistic value. It's not just about putting a solution out and everything. The last thing I'd like to just highlight is that in many cases we found that mobile's key. The ubiquity of connection allows you to do things and to connect things and to support solutions that you can't do simply in a fixed world. Just because it's such a ubiquitous solution. Mobile almost brings to the machine-to-machine market the kind of closure and the ability to address all opportunities that something like RFID might contribute in terms of its capillarity and its ability to assist a connected lifestyle to drill right down into monitoring of foodstuffs and things that you wouldn't connect in and of themselves necessarily. At that point, I think I should